There we go. Sharon.
Well, let's begin then with everyone taking a breath. And I am feeling the breeze here come by, and it feels lovely. So letting that breeze come into your being as well. So with your breath, and letting that breath take you into your heart. Relaxing in your body, just coming into that heart space, connecting. Tapping into the silence, the unified field we're part of, that we are. And we ask for guidance. We ask for connection and heartfelt communication for the work of this advisory council. Blessed be.
Thank you, Sharon.
Welcome.
Let's begin. I emailed you a form and I'm gonna pull that up and go through that with intention. But first, let's go back to a couple of weeks ago, Glenn, I think, said we should be the executive council. And then it was, we should be the leadership council. And it was like the executive leadership. And then Shelley had made the comment, well, the advisory council are really like Barbara Marx Hubbard was more of an advisor than that wisdom council, whatever, and had said the advisory council is more like them advising us. And so I switched it on the website and began calling this the leadership council or the executive leadership council. So I just want to bring that back for clarification. How does that feel before we put that in the rest of the docs and really fill that out on the website? If we were a very, very large corporation, we would be like the vice presidents. We would be like that executive leadership team. If we were a medium-sized corporation, we would be like the department directors. We would be like the heads of different departments within that organization, and maybe they would only have a couple of vice presidents, a CEO, a CFO, and then they would have department heads. So as you're thinking about this as a nonprofit organization, and we have the board, then we have this council, a leadership council, an executive council, a whatever council, then that makes up the leadership team. And I'm going to invite you onto a board meeting in the real near future. So I wanted to share how that would work together, that literally this is like the ongoing work within the organization where things are happening and everyone is in charge of their own role and their own department. I know that language sounds weird, but it's giving you an idea of what it's like in an organization. So we're all in charge of our own pieces and we're working, and then we bring that to the board and become part of that leadership team with the board, because we're the highest level of I was going to say employees, thinking of when we're fully functioning, we're like that executive team in a big organization where there's several on the executive team. But if we were in a medium size, we would be the department heads. We would be, that's what we are. So then we're going to pull out that document and go into that a little bit deeper so that we're really looking, because what's happening is as we're building the superorganism, and we have these functions that are in the organization, in the organism. It's like the heart and the lungs and the skin. We all have a function to do. if we go back to the vitality code, we're all getting precisely what we need to do that role, to do that job within the organism. And so we'll bring that document up in a second and go through that. But as far as the name or the title, how do we want to land that? What feels right? Is it an executive council? Is it is it a leadership council? Is it the executive leadership council? How does that feel?
I am never one to gently melt into a corporate world. I never have. And it sounds very corporate. And the vision that came to me was that we are wheel turners. You know, I was thinking of a wheel, and that everyone is a spoke into the hub. And maybe the hub is the heart, which is that team you were talking about of board members and the executive leadership council. Just because we haven't created a new language for it, but what came to me was being a wheel turner, which is kind of hard to say. It's not easy, but that's the vision that I had of just a new way of looking at the whole and how we're operating. When I hear leadership, I think of someone's up here, someone's down here following the leader. And maybe even advisory was the same way. It's like, right. I never thought of it as we were advising the good of the whole, but that we were just advising ourselves. But even that word might not be working so well. So I just wanted to toss that in there. You know, we can go any way that you want, but executive leadership council sounds old paradigm to me, and a little harsh. It's when I hear leadership, it feels separate from what we're trying to do as good of the whole.
And are you complete?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear everybody's piece, and I just want to respond as I'm going to interject this here because I think it will help inform as we move forward. We've held the new wine without any skins for so long because there's no skins. Like, we didn't want to put the new wine in the old skins, and we kept saying that for 8 years. And now that we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and now that we're moving, like literally putting these things on the website, we're looking for donors. We're looking for serious donors. We're looking for membership. We're looking for commitment from a lot of people to make everything work. And so there still isn't the language or the new forms. So we're using that language so that that donor who really doesn't get the paradigm can at least enter in before they really get that we're not that old paradigm. So I'm open to a word that bridges the old paradigm and the new paradigm, but all like a wheel turner. You put, here's our wheel turners, and the donor will go, who are these nut jobs? I'm out of here. You know, what's a wheel turner? You know, so I'm open to hearing what would that be. I'm inviting that wisdom to come in and the field to help formulate the information and really make that manifest and be grounded. But we do need to get to this place where literally we're standing on really strong bones now. And so that's why the harsh language, and yes, that's why I'm even bringing in the old model again, so we can see ourselves of how we can work in that old way that bridges into the new that's being created as we're moving along. Because I finally got to the point where instead of looking for who's creating it and looking at different models out there, it's like we're creating it as we go. So let's bring the old language along. We continue to create the new model as we go along. Nobody else is creating it, and we are good of the whole. So thank you, Linda. And yeah, I'm complete. Open it to the rest of you.
And I do have one other little phrase that came in besides wheel turners, was hole holders. WHOLE, HOLDERS, whole holders,
Cool.
for whatever we want to toss around with that.
So I have an idea. I think maybe this will spark something. Is I understand what Linda's pulling the thread through. I understand what she's saying, but it could be something like executive mentorship council, or I mean, using that word, keep continuing using that word mentorship that people really like and understand as we are all mentors, but it could be or advisory mentorship council, or but I think using the word mentorship continually builds what we're already building in the field and in the connection field and where we're going. So it's just, that might spark something for someone. And I mean, I'm still not if you're planning to call the advisory I mean, in some ways I think we need to, an advisory mentorship council would be taking it that much further, because oh, that's sweet, happy birthday, very sweet.
Very, very subtly done, Sharon.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. Walter just brought that over. I think my daughter sent it.
Oh no, that's
Good.
so I just think keep using the word mentorship, which is again just and also I'm a little bit nervous about start changing the advisory count. When we finally have a lot of people looking at us as the advisory council, now changing it to the leadership council. I'm not sure the leadership council actually works either, but I do like the mentorship council or advisory mentorship council. I think it holds the resonance, and I'm complete right now.
So I'll jump in next. I guess when I think about it, I think about when as I'm putting together like grant proposals and things, or going into the, to the bank and having a conversation with the banker, that and they ask me, what's your role in this? Go to the whole organization. And that's what I'm looking for, and it's really easy to say that I'm part of the the executive council or the executive leadership team. Without the word probably executive, it sounds like we're a mid-level advisory group when in fact what we are is we are the authoritative leaders of this game. And so where does the question is in our structure, where does the buck stop? And if you go to our website and you look at all these wisdom councils, it's really hard to say, well, who's running this show? Where do I send in a request for something, or what do I do? So I feel like we need some structure that the 5 or 6 or 8 of us, whoever is on this leadership team. I mean, a leadership team's another good word. An executive leadership team, leadership council, executive council, something along those lines feels to me like it sort of recognizes the decision-making capacity that we have. So I think I'm complete.
Thank you, Glenn. Sharon, I have another thought about that. It just came up. I'll remember it. Go ahead, Sharon.
Okay. So I had a little bit of the reaction that Linda had just around the word executive, around the hierarchy part. Leadership I like a lot, because I do think that you all are leaders. I'm kind of in and out a little bit here, so I just I'll add my point, but I think you're the key decision makers right now. So leadership team or leadership council works for me. I think it's just a little bit complicated to put mentorship in there. There are mentoring stewards, so there is already a structure for that. Um, and executive, I mean, I struggled with that in my coaching practice. I always wanted to call it leadership, but actually to bring in the bigger bucks, it's executive coaching that does that. So I am an executive leadership coach, as well as an individual coach, and I see kind of all people. But so I second kind of where Julie was coming from and Glenn was coming from in terms of making this organization accessible to donors, to grant proposals, to the government, to the banks. You got to speak that language as well. And also there is a reality to the fact that this is the stewardship would be another one, but this is the team that's accountable, that's responsible, that is leading the organization. So I would go for leadership team, leadership council, and executive is up to you guys if you want to elevate it for the purposes of external reference.
Thank you, Sharon. That's a really good reference point. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to say, with how I've held things in the past, and I've been so rigid about, no, I'm not putting it in the new skins, like the old skin, the old paradigm. And it's like, we're here to transform now. It's like 2020 has brought us this opportunity to transform, to transmute, to bring our own alchemical power and practice into the world at large, and not throw out everything, but to transition it to the new. And that's the global transition team. It's like, we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. We're holding the baby and saying, the bathwater's a little cold right now, let's warm it up and let's put some love in the bathwater. It's like, how do we create a transition from the old language to the new, from the old structures to the new, and not just, because if we're bridging that with language and we move toward transition, then we're literally co-creating the new world right now with every step. If we just turn it off, what are we waiting for? It's like we're creating something and then we're airy-fairy out there, new agey, not new agey, that it's like we're floating, there's no grounding. So it really is about how are we transitioning and transmuting and transforming as we move along. So saying all of that, what are we hearing collectively?
Well, something else just came up to emerge is that it feels like in reality, this team with John, we hold good of the whole. We own good of the whole. We carry and we support and we collectively love good of the whole. And so to language that, in a way that, again, is used, I think, Sharon, you said, sort of the external expression of how that looks from someone looking into, like, where do people go to inquire about working with good of the whole? Well, they come here. They come to this leadership team, this leadership council. Then this is the spot. And so to make that really a clear pathway to decision making and collaboratory expansion and efforts. So I'm complete.
You want to have an ice cream truck outside?
No, I love that.
That's here.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any other?
Hey, Glenn, where did that leave you in terms of the titles we discussed? Though he didn't finish your kind of sentence.
Well, I'm okay with leadership team, executive leadership council. I think leadership council has a little more oomph to it than leadership team. Executive leadership council maybe elevates it a little bit more. I think you made a good point about the people you consult with. It's a different box when you're a executive consultant than you are being a business consultant or a corporate consultant or executive leadership consultant. Those conjuring up different things in our culture, and it is where we are. So, I mean, if we, I think, totally step into who we are, we're the executive leadership council. We could be just leadership council and not have the word executive there. But so I guess the point is there's no higher. There is a hierarchy here because things come here for decisions and collaborations and deciding things. So, are we ready to step in to that authority?
Yeah, I think you got it. I think just do it. Just Executive Leadership Council. We're losing Shelley here.
I'm tired. I'm like sitting. I'm like,
I think we need to make a decision. Move on.
I'm like, ugh. But I like,
Yep.
I'll speak up. I mean, after all said and done, I like council better than team.
Yeah.
Because the connection field team sounds right because we are a team, and we are a team here too. But I like, and I can breathe with that executive leadership council. I think it is like, are you ready to take that on? Are you ready to embrace that? Because if we can embrace it and hold it, then we can help others, in this transition time. Well, first of all, you know what? I'm just really curious. What is the definition of executive? Like, what is the actual definition? I'm going to go look it up right now.
Well, I know that in the brain, the executive function is responsible for the cognitive functioning. Like when you talk about your executive function, it's your ability to make decisions and to think present, future, and all of that. So, like with
Right.
people that have problems with their executive function. So there is a reality there. The other thing that came to my mind is I know that Shelley had sent out an agenda earlier today that, looking at Andrea as director, is that executive director, administrative director, like what is that title and how does that tie back to this group, in terms of a reporting structure and what she's responsible for, what this group would, if indeed you go with her or with someone in that role, what's the title of that role and how does that come back to this group in terms of who supervises her and is clear, she reports to in terms of her duties and responsibilities. So, I mean, a lot in OD is clarifying that sort of thing. Organizations run a whole lot better when everybody is clear on what their piece is. So, and I think that's true in the organism model kind of as well. There still needs to be some clarity and some differentiation of what those roles and responsibilities are.
We're going to go over those. I didn't know you were on that initial email because I sent out one after that. So I apologize.
Okay, I didn't see that. Sorry.
But, so I didn't get you the next document either, but we'll go over that in a second. But Shelley, do you have a definition?
Yeah, I was also just looking up. Yeah, it was put the having the power to put plans, actions, or laws into effect. So without making it about an individual, that's sort of the meaning of that. So I just wanted to see, and of course, I'm just going to kind of go along, gently with what you guys feel because this is not my forte. But I or are we an administrative council? But I guess that's really different than a leadership. So yeah, so I'm gonna just go with it. I don't think ultimately it makes a difference if we just can breathe it in and accept it, and we're transform, like Julie was saying, we're transforming the vibration of what it actually is, because that's what we're really doing. We all know that we hate executive and governments and all this. Not hate, but we're wanting to transform that. But maybe what we're really doing is transforming the meaning of it, so that we can speak to it as in its highest frequency. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. So let's just leave that there on the table here. Executive Leadership Council. And council's more feminine than team, and council's more, council brings it more, if you think about indigenous councils and circles, so there's a little softening, but that executive leadership says, Glenn, you want to borrow money, or Glenn, you want a line of credit from us? Oh, okay, you're a part of the executive leadership team. So let me go into the next document. And I want to just show you this, because this is, and thank you, Sharon, what you just said as part of a conversation Shelley had earlier today is, for me and my frustration over the last several months, is that, like, in here, I created the structure and was really guided about the structure, and it came in, and then like I put it out there, and I just haven't said, Glenn, do you want to be the steward that's doing this? Linda, do you want to be the steward? And so we're all just like trying to make decisions, and there's no clear delineation between who's doing what in the leadership council here. And so bringing it back to our business plan, I'm just going to go over, I'm going to screen share here, and we can go over this document. Let me scoot this up. Move this, actually, let me just scoot that out, move this up. Okay, so I put this Executive Leadership Council because it was what was brought up. I want to see your faces. I don't like this. I'm going to see your faces on the side of my screen. That title was brought up, and so I just dropped it in there and held that within our business plan that we have. And obviously, if we want to be a 501c3, we have to have this language. We have to come into this. So, number one, you've heard me call these, you've seen this, you've all seen this document. So I put people in here to say, here's what our Executive Leadership Council could look like. So Shelley is the primary residence steward. She coordinates the weekly Global Heart Resonance calls. She coordinates the daily Facebook Live, which is right now on the connection field. She develops, coordinates, and conducts resonance education, which her and John are almost ready to do resident leadership in the real near future, and trainings. Develops and coordinates the resonance radio. It's still sitting there. Resonance radio hasn't picked up yet, but hey, that's part of it. Develops and coordinates the connection field and the resonance lounge, and then coordinates the resonance council. So Shelley is the farthest down in development of really grounding her role as this resonance steward. She has a lot of these functions already in place. So that's one member of this Executive Leadership Council.
Can I just make a quick note before you just make yourself a note that I think it should be really coordinates the connection field. That should come first, because that's the entity, I mean, it's a whole entity within good of the whole, like you said, it's like the heart or the circulatory system. So I actually think that should go first. But anyway, just a note. You don't have to do it right now.
And okay, I can edit this as we go, but we can all edit these things. We could all make suggestions. We can all, like, as we really look at this as a functioning leadership council, I think it's important to say, hey, wait, this doesn't make sense, or why don't we put this one over here or do this? I did that this weekend when I was going, okay, if we're going to really bring on an administrative assistant now, what does that person do? So I made them be a part of the leadership team so that they have an equal role in this advisory council, and yet they're a paid employee to get certain things done. So we moved it around, because it's like you have a steward that's in charge of communications, and then the administrator is going to do it. So anyway, so I'm just going to go through these really quick. Feel free to interrupt me, because I can't see Sharon on my screen. I only see the four of you. Let's see. Yeah. There. Woohoo. If I arrow down, I see all four of you and I don't see me. Primary education and events steward, coordinate offering special events and new programming, oversees archives, provides support for events, and works with communication steward, with marketing, and now we don't have a communication steward anymore. You'll see that in a second. With marketing, publicity, keep comprehensive calendar of good of the whole, mentors, partners, and other organization events. works with the website and technology steward to develop the Kajabi and other platforms, coordinates education and events. Now see, we could continue to clarify this, but now you see there's going to be someone who's ultimately in charge of all the education and events. Wouldn't that be nice? Linda, you started working with mentors, and so I put you in here, and if it doesn't feel right or feel like what you want or doesn't fit, I'll literally move you out, and you can look within here and see what really feels good. And you'll see at the very bottom where I've left it open. So I'll show you that in a minute. So I put Linda Linker Rosenthal, primary community and mentorship steward, coordinates the whole community and membership mentorship, develops direct communication with community, coordinates gatherings and meetings, deals with mentorship payment issues, works with all levels of community to keep communication smooth and comprehensive, coordinates and implements annual and biannual membership drives, coordinates the community and mentorship council. So if that person wanted a council, if there's a need for the council, then you bring people in that are really interested in this area, and you have something like the connection field team or the resonance council. So that ability to have the council under you is on every single one of these, all 13. Okay, how's that feel, Linda?
I was amazed that this document came out today, and it was very, very helpful, and I was kind of surprised to see that, but yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't real crazy about coordinating membership drives, but you know, I have others to work with me. We can do that.
If you had a
So
council.
it felt good. I mean, if it's like I started doing it anyway. So yeah, thanks. You just plugged it in.
The irony about holding all this is, like, I've shared this all with you like months ago and weeks ago, and like, where do you see yourself, you guys? Where do you see yourself? And so I'm coming in and just putting you in, and then I tweaked it since the original business plan. So we'll see that in a second. Okay, I don't feel like I have to run through each one of these and read them all, but I'm just going to go through them and keep going here. So the primary research and resource steward, they're doing that. They're holding resources for all the mentoring stewards, for the global transition team. They're doing our resource tab on the website. They're doing the research. They're vetting the organization. So there might be a really cool organization that treats the earth really bad, you know, so we need someone that's overseeing all that. The primary website and technology steward, coordinating everything technology-wise that looks for different platforms. Maybe there's somebody that comes in and there's a master of Infusionsoft, and they say, I don't care how expensive it is, you've got to go Infusionsoft, and we all go, okay, we'll trust you. You're our technology and website person. Primary arts, media, and entertainment steward, and they're working with the expansion of arts and media. That's the telling of the story. That's the expanding. When we're looking at those three things that we're doing of really preparing, and as we're lifting people up and we're amplifying what they're doing, as we're looking at those functions, the arts, media, and entertainment steward is helping develop campaigns and other ways of getting the word out. The networking and relationship steward is really about external relationships, like who really wants to work with Unity Earth and Together in Creation and Humanities Team, and start bringing them in and weaving as we start developing the global transition team. We really are working on a trans-organizational superorganism. So Shelley's going deeply into the inter-organizational superorganism with the connection field and building what's ours here. And we're also building the trans-organizational superorganism that's out around the planet. So that's a part of that. The primary volunteer and service steward. This is someone who's working with volunteers all the time and knows this one's really good at writing skills and they want to work on the digest. This one really wants to show up, and so can they be an ambassador on social media or whatever. But they're working with all of our volunteers, and they also develop volunteer recognition and service awards. Like, we're really helping our volunteers feel really good. The primary social media ambassador is out there being that, like coordinating all the social media working with like Hootsuite or another program like that that's putting it out on all, and then training other social media ambassadors. This is the only one I didn't call a steward, because when you hear social media ambassador, you go, oh, I know what the social media ambassador is. They're out there being an ambassador. And so that one's self-explanatory. Glenn Head, primary special project development steward. Coordinates all special projects from inception to development, coordinates and oversees basic business development functions and activities from business plans and budget to board and grant reports, communicates progress, needs, and development goals, coordinates the special projects development committee if he so chooses to have one, and reports to the board of directors. So when someone says, I want to be a DBA, then we go, okay, go talk to Glenn. Glenn knows this process and he'll help get you set up. And Glenn will bring it to us and we'll bring it to the board. And that's how that would work. Glenn, do you have any feedback for me on that one?
Okay.
That's so Glenn.
Perfect.
Here we go.
So Glenn.
Okay, perfect. Now, obviously we could expand on that in description and words, but that's, you get the energy and the essence of what that one is. So the next one, John Brockett, primary community coherence circles, which are the local good of the whole hubs. In our business plan months ago, I began calling them community coherence circles. And we had a conversation about it months ago. And when Shelley moved to Boulder, she saw a need for that the local hubs, and John expressed an interest in getting local hubs, local circles up and going and expanding that, hitting the road, getting the RV and going to all these different towns and cities, and let's get a local good of the whole off the ground here. So John expressed interest in it. Here's what I wrote: develops and coordinates local community hubs, develops direct communication with each community, develops guidelines, policies, and procedures for local hubs, coordinates local and online gatherings and meetings, manages reciprocity. We're talking about you, John. Gifts of service, time, talent, resources, works with all levels of leadership to keep communication smooth and comprehensive, coordinates and implements outreach plan, coordinates the Community Coherence Circle Council. So, John, you just came in on everything, so I don't even expect you to open your mouth. You'll have to watch the video to begin, but we'll bring you in. I don't know if you had time to look at that document either. But does anybody else want to say anything about the local hubs before I keep moving on, and then we'll fill John in? Sharon, you're on mute.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is the piece where it says coordinates local and online gatherings. I would not think that that would be a role. I would think that this person would need to be aware of those things, but not, they would be coordinated by the local hubs.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm more thinking like, thank you for saying that. I'm thinking more like this person is coordinating the gathering of the leaders of those hubs. So
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just.
Yeah, like local and online leadership gatherings or something, although they might just come right in as the mentoring stewards. There might be a connection there. Okay.
Exactly.
Julie,
Yeah.
I think, John, I think you could just do this quick download and bring John in, and I mean, he can look at that and go, that's not me, or that's not what I feel like doing, or, I mean, just, you know, rather than having to watch the video, but I think this is pretty simple. It's just looking at a role that you've placed him in, and how does that feel? Like, does that feel like you, or, you know, just, I don't know. I just kind of.
Hi, John. Are you even with us?
Ah! No, I'm just kidding.
I see you going like this, like.
Yeah, I mean, can you put that page back up?
I would love to. Let me just tell you what I've been doing. We were talking about our leadership council here, and each role that all of us are playing within that leadership, like an executive team in a large corporation. We each have our own departments that we're specializing in and working in. And a while back, you were really hot on let's get local hubs up and going. And so this is what I created in the meantime. It was in the business plan. I don't remember how long it's been in the business plan, but it's been in the business plan. And so primary community coherence circles steward, or whatever we call that, like a local hub steward, whatever they would be. Maybe they're local good of the wholes. Maybe they're community coherence circles. Maybe they're local connection fields. Who knows what that would be? But yeah, you could go ahead and read through that, John.
Yeah, I'm just reading through it, and I feel like if we I develop a template that we actually put into service in one local community hub and work out all the bugs and so forth, then it could be duplicated going into other community hubs. So I kind of get that. It really is. So we're talking about different geographic areas, it looks like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
Remember when you were ready to hit the RV and hit the road and start them up
Yeah.
and down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our go to the whole tent show.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
Teaching resonance along the way.
Yeah.
So I'll share with you a vision. Shelley, you'll love this. I think I said this on another meeting, but Shelley Ostroff has seen the template of the connection field in a way that it is this model, and saw us mentoring other connections fields within the connection field. She saw that in one of her meditations. And so a lot more to be explored there, but we're creating templates, and that's one of them too. So thank you, John.
Yep.
Okay, 2 more to go.
I was going to say, maybe I can jump in just a second. There might be a coordination, John, between the work that Hummingbird does with and Carolyn Anderson and Catherine around the hubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that anywhere that there is a hub going on, to incorporate that in and see how we can use what's existing and bring it into the template.
And John, there's a whole there's a list of them in our resource tab. There's a lot of different, not a lot. I think there's 3 or 4 of them maybe that are there. So they're right on our website. You'll be able to find that.
Okay.
To others. And I don't know how active Carolyn and the Global Family and Carolyn and Catherine, I think they're just maintaining what they had from 20 to 30 years ago, but there's not a lot of activity and growth, but they're a deep well of wisdom and resource, John. They're amazing.
Okay.
So number 12, administrative director, which is the primary administrative steward. So on here, you see I put communications and finances, and like how we're there. We had a communication steward and we had a finance steward, finance and development steward. And I'm like, we still could split that back out again, but let's think in terms of if we do have an administrative person. Organizes all communications. Well, I am going to read this one because it's important. Organizes all communication, including newsletter and digest, coordinates and/or creates weekly vlog, responsible for daily blog entries, works with community and curators to source blog articles, responsible for email marketing, responsible for constant contact, sends press releases, works with media, responsible for all marketing, publicity, public relations, coordinates, trains, and develops curators, create instant and constant flow of internal, external information, develops and maintains good of the whole Speakers Bureau, and coordinates the Communications Council. See how that was the communication steward. Now we move to finance, coordinates fundraising efforts, works with board to research and apply for grants, conducts project-specific crowdfunding campaigns, coordinates annual fundraising campaigns, develops donor relations, responsible for all donor communications, conducts annual membership drive, oversees the fiscal responsibilities of all special projects and DBAs within the organization, coordinates the Finance and Development Council, and then oversees and maintains all state and federal reporting, maintains board minutes and leadership team communication and agenda.
I want to say something to that because I think that, in truth be known, it would be better if it were two different people. I think it would be cleaner and um, they're not overrunning and having to go back and forth. That the finance person and the funding person is just a clear channel. Except at this time, like I feel like if we're continuing this agreement with Andrea and it looks like it's a go, then she could maneuver in both worlds, but ultimately I think that it should be two people because I think it's just going to benefit the organism and the organization more than having one person trying to do that all. And anyway, that's just my opinion.
So I would love everybody's opinion on this. And this could still be two stewards on the leadership team or the leadership council, and the administrator is doing the work for everyone with communications and where does the buck stop. But it's not like she's going to have to do this and then this and then this. An administrator does all of that anyway. So an administrative director will be doing all those kinds of things. So I'm just going to pause before I read the last one and hear you out on that. Anybody?
Well, one thought that I have is that as we post these, I'll call position descriptions, that for people that we're looking for volunteers to be in these places, each of these people, I would not see each of these people being part of this executive leadership council. That if we expand this more than 5, maximum 7, we'll become an unwieldy committee. And so those people would function on their own and let us know what they're doing, but they would not. I don't see them as being part of this team. Although we could alternate moving in and out of this council on every 2 or 3 years or a 5-year or some kind of basis. But if this executive council needs to be, we need to make decisions more quicker.
Yeah.
Agile is the word. And
Agile.
I'm thinking,
there you go, agile.
But you also, you could do something like this, that you're meeting weekly and that once a month they're invited in for the larger, it's like that's what you would do in a corporate setting. You have your directors all come in, you might have 100 of them. They meet maybe once a month or once a quarter. And the leadership team is more an ongoing. So there's ways to bring them in because they need to feel connected. But yeah, they can't limit the effectiveness of the senior team.
Thank you, Sharon. And Glenn, you had mentioned that a couple of weeks ago when you said, so we have the leadership council and we have the executive leadership council, and we're like the executive, and you use that example. And that's what we could do, is delineate that we have this leadership council with all these functions. And then it would be like the 5 of us, or Sharon, if she chooses to join us, because she's an incredible asset that we would love to have around every week. But then the administrative director reports to us as a executive leadership team. So we leave those 2 functions separate, just like Shelley had suggested. And when you think of the executive, that finance person really needs to be in the executive. If anybody wants to be that finance one, we really need that to be in the, but like Sharon said, we could even rotate too, is like how we did that from time to time. But
I would actually just, that specific role, I think Glenn was speaking more broadly about all of the 13 roles that you put out there, but that one around the administrative director, if that's what the title becomes, I would think that one might be at least, maybe that would be a member of this team.
Yeah.
Or maybe not a voting member. If if you're making decisions, you'd have to.
Yeah, I think an administrative director would show up everywhere, because she's ultimately, he or she is responsible for that. But like coming to the meetings, not showing up everywhere like all the time, you can't do that. But yeah, thank you, Sharon. Anything else?
Shelley's sleeping again.
Shelley's sleeping.
I did feel the same way that the communications and the finance, at least for me, if two people could do that, and I don't know if we could, but what that would mean to have two administrative directors.
No, we would have council, we would have stewards, and then that paid administrator at the beginning until we really get cranking. That one person would be coordinating all these functions. So one administrative director would be coordinating all these functions.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll put it back to the way we had it, because what we're describing is the way it was prior to today when I just did that just now. So what it would be is we'd have a communication steward, we'd have a finance and development steward, and then we would have an administrative director who's not on that executive team or on the leadership council.
But that person, he or she, oversees all 13 of these things. Just
She's like working for all 13 of these committees, working for everyone. Like she is the one where things are going to get done, and she's coordinating communications and setting up the meetings and sending
so.
up minutes. And
Can we ask, how are the interviews going with Andrea? Do you feel, what's your feeling?
I've only had one interview. I've left messages with 3 people and just had the one that was her personal friend. So I'm going to ask Andrea to do one more that's on there that I really want to talk to. She told me which ones she's asked, and so I've got them, but the other 2 haven't called me back yet.
Oh, I actually was talking about your interviews with Andrea herself. What's your feeling?
Let's
Not
put
her
the
reference.
agenda for later on the agenda. And we'll
Okay.
fix what we're doing here.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you meant her references. Okay, so let me just finish the last one. Unless Shelley, you sat up. Are you sitting up to stay awake, or did you want to say something? Okay, so I'm gonna go back to screen sharing for a second and do the last one, which is the visioning and leadership steward, coordinates mission-driven activities, monitors continuous coherence, used to be called continuous quality assurance in the executive world, develops culture, communications, training within the good of the whole community, listens to global trends, listens to the impulse of evolution, moving within the organization, responsible for ethos, mission, vision, organizational structure, and coherence, oversees all councils to ensure activity aligns with mission-driven shared purpose, develops and maintains the global transition team, develops and oversees the global transition specialist, apprentice, consultant training, and coordinates and develops an advisory council and relations. So that's that one. And then I had left this in, so this is when somebody had said, well, what if we don't fit into any one of these? Or what if we have somebody that's really interested that wants to be a part of our leadership council, but we don't have a role for them yet? So what I'm inviting in is that we have up to 5 members that we could bring in at one time into the council at large, so that they're in training to fill one, or that they literally show an interest and they go in and they're they're co-primary stewards, or something like that. But that we wouldn't get that, like Glenn said, too big, and yet we would be able to bring in someone that's really on fire right now, that's obviously leadership, until someone else goes off of the leadership council. So that's the leadership council. John, we had an entire conversation about what we're going to call this. And right before I brought in this, we were talking about how do we create language that bridges the old paradigm of hierarchy, top-down structure, executive leadership teams to the new world while we're building it. And we talked about the importance of using language that bankers and funders, philanthropists, donors, others can go to the website and see a leadership team and where the buck stops, and how important it is when we're writing grants and wanting a line of credit, doing business, that we have some of the old language that bridges it, so people go, oh, okay, I know who these people are, their role within the organization. So so I brought the primary steward list in, and let's just go right back to then. We kind of tabled it and left the leadership council, or the executive leadership council. And during that, I just want to presence that, Sharon, you may have helped us clarify that we have this leadership council of 13 to 17, 18, 19, however many it's going to be when we split that one out again. And then Glenn said, no, we need an executive team that's just 5 that we can be agile and make decisions. So we have the Executive Leadership Council and the Leadership Council now on the table. I like it. I like it. Sharon likes it.
I like it.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
I do too.
And so, yeah, and again, it would be a cadence where that leadership council is a once a month, which is a good amount of time anyway. They don't need to commit more than that. They've got all this other stuff they're doing. And this council, the 5, this is their primary meeting weekly. They're not, along with whatever else they're doing.
Let's say 6, Sharon. 6, the 6 of us.
Can I be that at-large person at the moment?
No, we're putting you in charge of finance and development. Are you kidding? No, just kidding. Just kidding. Of course.
That would be the wrong one for me.
However you want to enter, we would welcome you. And this is a good example of why I put that at-large member at the bottom, so that we can sit with it and that person can grow into their role.
Mm-hmm.
People can grow out of their roles, and then we have that flexibility to move. So
Do we call it the bottom of the barrel?
who's the bottom? The at-large member's the bottom of the barrel?
Just a fun thing.
No, Glenn. You can't call it the bottom of the barrel.
Especially not on her birthday.
That's right.
On your first, I wouldn't call it the
Yeah.
top of the barrel. We'll call it
There you go. That's better.
the rainbow.
The rain barrel.
The goodness that fills over
Okay.
the barrel that's full.
Yeah. But that feels more doable, the way that you just talked about structuring it. And I think these 13, there will be some shifting and in terms of responsibilities as people come into it. And especially as you get an administrative director in there who starts really working with the 5 here, or the 6 here, and, with the things that are already in movement that you've got that are happening that need attention.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And right now, they're all volunteer, which is a lot. So we don't want to give any one person too much that they can't handle. Michelle?
Could you just check the Zoom room and make sure that, just pass that over to Jess if there's no host?
Who just came in?
It
Grace.
looks like, what? It looks like Jess just went in and Noreen looks like she's in there. Just, they're about to start that meeting.
Okay, Grace was there, so I'm giving it to Jess.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Also,
good.
if I can just comment, Shelley sent me some of the documents she's been working on for the connection field and other things this morning, and I'm taking a review of those, and we're going to talk tomorrow. So that's the kind of at-large thing that I'm happy to help with, and there are some edits I'll suggest, and some of them look really good the way they are. The donor letters, that type of thing, those look really good. So I'll talk with Shelley tomorrow on that. I have somebody coming between 5:30 and 6 probably, so I'll have to drop when she comes.
Well, this feels really good, so let's put a bow on it and tie it up.
You're down on. Oh, look at Glenn's new title,
I'm being a rebel.
Linda Love.
I would actually ask that doesn't go up on, like when you're inside the connection field. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or just let people know, explain it first inside of the connection field. Yeah. Or,
This is internal stuff
right.
that we're doing.
Thank you.
It's not, and it's external when you need to be with banks and with your nonprofit status.
Yeah.
It's
And-
okay. I just have to move people from understanding the advisory council and what is the advisory council. So who is now the advisory council? Is that people like you know, Jude Caravan and Andrew Harvey, who's like, where is that going? I want to be clear about that.
Well,
'Cause
that's
we
what
already,
we suggested, that they be the advisory council instead of the wisdom council. I'm open to that, but is it too confusing to call them the advisory council now?
maybe I just wouldn't let things just settle. And I mean, I don't know, you know, can hear from everybody else, but you know,
So
yeah.
so for me, to an advisory council would be like, Julie, if at the end of that document, your role, where you're kind of the holder of the whole, like Shelley is the holder of the resonance and you're the holder of this other stuff. The advisory council would be people that you feel would bring wisdom to you and your roles as that. I don't think it would go much further down into the organization, or maybe Glenn, you know, this team, they would be an advisory council too. So it might be that, again, once a quarter or something, or as needed, an advisory council person might come into this leadership team if they were requested, or you'd have some special meeting. But they're really on the bigger trends, the bigger picture, the bigger stuff and the thematic, rather than the day-to-day workings or the operations of the organization. I mean, that's where I think the operations come into this group, the mission, the bigger purpose stuff, advisory council. Unless you've got some really specific thing, like if Glenn's got projects going and he wants advisory input into something these other people have already done, you know, you could use them in a variety of ways.
I think that honoring those who were in the advisory council role as we were forming, you know, like I spent 2 or 3 calls with Greg Braden. I spent several with, you know, different people, and they were that wisdom advisory council people in the early months, early year. And, you know, spent a lot of time with these people bringing their wisdom in and advising, like how the United Religions Initiative got started and how they held certain things. And so they filled that function. I think as we evolve forward, their role will change, but I think that they can come in a different role with the global transition team now. So that might all be in transition anyway, but I want to keep honoring them on our website without perhaps a function that they have at this time as it's in transition. But
can't we just leave them the wisdom council? Can we just leave it? Not,
we can leave them the wisdom council.
So back to Shelley's question about
what's the global transition thing? Sorry, Glenn.
uh-oh, shoot, I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm here, I'm listening, I'm just gonna check something.
Okay, well, Jess isn't showing up, but Robin and Noreen are talking. Jess is off. Jess is there. Anyway, go ahead. Sharon, I can spend some time with you on another time if you want to really dig into it. But the global transition team is more of that trans-organizational superorganism that we're building around the world. It's really based on what I've been calling the Trinity of Wholeness, of really looking at living for a good of the whole, co-creating whole systems health, and expanding a whole worldview. So we're really looking at who's holding those globally with organizations, and then developing like an apprenticeship program. So people are not only just learning resonance and resonance leadership, but they're understanding a whole worldview and the science and and like understanding codes for healthy earth and what that is, and perhaps even like revolutionary agreements like you have. So it's like we're bringing in an apprenticeship program where they become global transition specialists so that they could go work in any sector of the world, working or volunteering. Shelley, you're not on mute.
Sorry.
And anyway, so the global transition team is really bringing in individuals and organizations who are doing this work on the planet right now, and then training in an apprentice type training program, the global transition specialists.
So it's one of the,
which steward takes that on? Which steward
that's kind of what I was thinking. The same thing. Is it the education person as well, though? Because it sounds like there's a whole program there. Yeah. So that you had a steward who was in charge of programs and education. So they'd be working closely with you on that, I would think.
And if you look at that list of 14 functions now, we could be taking on more than one of them. John could have 2, Glenn could have 2, Julie could have 2. Like, we literally could take on more. The global transition team's coming through me, but John's a big part of developing people out in the world and wants to do that work. And like the educational steward would have to coordinate that part of, I don't want to coordinate the education and the Kajabi and get them in and get them registered and get the, you know, but I might have to start with. So
Well, yeah.
it's for the whole. We're holding.
Yeah, I'm seeing it more as I do think your administrative director could do the or even having an administrative assistant at some point under that director would do a lot of that logistical stuff, but the content development of that program, that's going to come back to you, to John. That's the place where I would be happy to play, and everybody, you know, others, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so this is a really good example, Sharon. You could bring in the executive leadership coaching piece and do a module that would help them understand how to work with other leaders out in the world as that global transition specialist. So it's like this ongoing, ephemeral, yet evergreen thing that they're going to have this whole library that can access all this stuff, but there's always new, good, evolving, fresh in front of them, and this library that they'll access. And then there'll be different calls every week. So the global transition specialist will have a rethink tank every week. There'll also be a place, I had a bunch of, I can't remember the fun name of the call that I had, but you go and you not only talk about your successes, but you talk about your failures. So we have a place that people go of what I've tried that doesn't work, so that there's an archive of what's not working as we move forward in this new paradigm. And so that's that's an element of what happens in the superorganism. Is every member of an organelle, like the mycelial network, they know what doesn't work and they stop and they go and they do something different. So that's just another part of it. So there's a lot of components, and it's rich and it's meaningful and it's here and now, but it's got all the, you know, the stuff that's archived and libraried. And
when do you see that up and running? Do you see, is that like a year out? Is that something that you're on the brink of, that you have some, you know, where is that? Like, I know you've got some things that are happening now and some things that are visionary.
I have always said September, and yet today I heard, you know, your anniversary is December 2nd, 2020. Like, that would be good of the whole's birth anniversary. But I don't think starting in December is right. So I'm still going with September, October
Of this year.
Yeah. Yep. It's
Okay.
We're ready. And
Okay.
other people who want to come play in the trans organizational culture,
Cool.
they're ready. So it's bringing
Okay.
people in and creating.
Okay. All right. Yeah, maybe I'll have another conversation with you about that. Okay.
Glenn and Linda are both raising their hands.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Go. Well, I was just going to comment that as this executive council, part of our responsibility is to do what we can to know a little bit about everything. So we're the holders of this whole. So, you know, for me, I don't have a clue about a lot of things that we're doing. I do what I can to learn about each one, you know, different things. But that's really our role, is to be in touch with, not to be responsible for maybe, or to be, but to be in touch with it and just say, oh, how can I support that? What can I do? So that's all.
Yeah. And having this new format, we each can report in of what's going on with all these things. And so the mechanism is being set up right now that we can report in and give reports on what we're working on. I agree. Linda.
So that kind of brings me to this new thing that I want to report into the council here, for whatever we're called, and let you know that I don't think we have a store yet where people can get an item and make a donation. I'm not sure if that's up and running, but I wanted everyone to know that I have my little ebook finished, Dance of Forever Winds, I'm going to be recording it. So it will be a recording and a book. And I would like to donate that to Good of the Whole so that anyone who wants it, the donations go to Good of the Whole. And there's not a price for it, it's donation. So I'm basically giving it to Good of the Whole, if that's okay with everyone.
What is the ebook? Did you say the name of it was?
Dance of the Forever Winds. It's like
Yeah,
a,
okay.
I wrote it for young readers, but it's really for adult. Oh, sorry. Noise in the background. And I was going to put it up on my website just as another item, but we really felt that I just want to give it, because in the time of COVID, there's so many people who are afraid of dying, and great timing. Is that too loud in the background? Could I talk? Should I not talk right now?
Here you go. It comes louder and then it goes. Now we can't hear you at all.
So just muse on that seriously?
Now see, there's a function that we do not have in those 14 descriptions, is the store. It's
Is the
not in
store.
there. The store is not in
Part of
there.
the web, that's part of the web person, isn't it?
Yeah, that might be.
It's
But we
also
need it.
part of,
We need it.
it's part of the administrative director. It's part of the finance thing as to how money flows. You know, how is your store set up? Where does the money go? I mean, I have a store on my website. It's not hard to set up. You probably
where
do
do-
too.
And where does the money go?
And who tracks it and how's it accounted for? Yeah.
Right.
And that there was also, I know in Shelley's original list, we haven't talked about today, like the donations, like they put out the thing where 50% would go to Jose, for example, one day. So I know I donated that day, assuming that some would go to him, some would go to the Whole. So those structures need to be set up. An administrative person should be able to work with the web person to do that. I think that those are good things for the administrative person to dig right into and get the nuts and bolts up, you know, get the website up to what it wants to be. And
Immediate cash flow. Let's get it going.
Exactly. And I thought, you know, it's a start. It's something that I did. And
it's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice. I'm going to send the PDF in a little zip file to everyone so that you can read it. And then let me know if you want this to be something that I gift to Good of the Whole. Okay. The second thing is.
Can I just interrupt for just a brief second? Sharon, did you say you wanted yours to be split between Good of the Whole and Jose, or you wanted your donation to go to Jose?
Whatever the thing was that day, I think it was like a $78 thing. And I thought it was going to be split. I'm not sure.
Okay. 10% went to Good of the Whole, just so you know that. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I knew there was a split involved.
90.
So, and that's the type of thing we want to be clear about, so people know. You know, it was fine with me either way, whatever it was. But
Okay, everybody on that one day, everybody, it was clear that it was 10% going.
okay,
always.
yeah, I just forgot, but that's what it was. So, but that's like somebody had to manage that on the other end when things came in, you know, to see that happened. And you know, as those protocols get going, that's what your administrative person would definitely be on top of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we say to people who are going to start filling in these 13 platforms that we're working with, as far as and I know right now it's strictly volunteer, but how do we say to them eventually that they will be compensated, and what might that look like? You know,
Well, I don't think we
where
say
would it come from?
point, because from this moment forward, they could stay volunteer or they could not be volunteer. We don't know how that might evolve. So like right now, because they're all volunteer, it's like we're volunteer, we're working toward a structure where everyone playing a significant role will be remunerated according to, that the reciprocity and that vitality code. We want to make sure everybody is being remunerated. But I don't think we're going to say, hey, we want to recruit you because it might be a paid position someday. If they have the heart for service and they love good of the whole and they hold it as strongly as we, of course we want them on the team. And then we can, look at how will that evolve over time. But,
And another thing that could be helpful with that is that in the spirit of reciprocity, as you are developing some of these programs, like for example, this book, and then this global transition team, if they're that they might be able to take those without any payment because they're in these roles. So there could be things that they're the pilot group for that would be beneficial to them and beneficial to us as a pilot group for any of the programs we do. So that normally we would be charging for.
beautiful. Does that help, Linda?
Yes, yes. And then there, I know John wants to talk and everybody does, but the third, well, there's two other things I want to talk about. And one is Codes for a Healthy Earth and how we can bring that perhaps into the connection field somehow, just to broaden the exposure to that. And I'll leave the other one. It's about Pachamama pajamas, but I'll wait until next week to report on that.
Okay, Shelley, you want to jump in here?
Well, I'm just really concerned that we've gone an hour and a half and we haven't gotten to all those other things, and they're some, they're important, and I don't know, because we've already gone an hour and a half, which is our usual time. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is all good, important and good, but yeah, just wanted to bring it into the fore, like at least into the conversation.
Okay, well, Linda started bringing her agenda items forward. Shelley, you had some agenda items that you want to bring forward, and I'll just presence by saying we need more than an hour and a half, and this is a really foundational, important conversation that we've been having, and that
Right.
everybody really needs to be able to embody this structure to do our work. We have to embody this. We have to get it. So let's just go back to that structure and see if there's clarity. We can continue the conversation in the future. And then Shelley, you could go through the things that you put out for your agenda item. Sorry, it's kicking me off of here. I don't know where you guys are. I have two computers that log in.
I mean, we can all agree to go 2 hours on Monday. I mean, we're
We're
only
always
meeting.
2 hours on Monday.
Well, we do go that, but we've never all agreed that we are doing that. I mean, as far as I know.
It takes that, and it goes that way anyway. So
Yeah,
just
I know, but it's nice if we agree. Then
I agree. You have my 2 hours on the afternoon.
I agree.
Okay, the five of us are in agreement.
Okay.
Sharon? We've
I
got,
think I can. Yeah, I can plan on it. This I did tell somebody, so we'll see when she hasn't shown up yet. So
all
I
right.
can stay on.
So, okay, so anything to tie the leadership council in a bow. Glenn said, let's tie a bow on it and move forward. He's ready. And we all understand the difference between the executive leadership council and the leadership council and the mentoring stewards and the other roles. And then the admin will come in and support all of that. So anything else before we switch agenda items?
I'm still not clear what Shelley brought up before, like what do we call the advisory council? What happened to us as people know us being on the advisory council? We just say, hey, we're now the executive leadership council.
This group has transitioned to be the executive leadership council, and there is a wisdom advisory council that I think you call the wisdom council.
just I wouldn't use the word advisory. Just leave it as
Okay, it's wisdom. So they're the wisdom council. So the word advisory goes away right now.
They'll see it on the website, and also if we just say in terms of creating the organization so that we can, whatever it is, get grants and be a part of a more functioning organization, not organism, but that this is what we all, I mean, no one's going to question it. It's just simply embracing it, I think.
Just
Oh,
for
yeah.
clarity, thank you.
If you choose to accept this mission, you now become a part of the Executive Leadership Council. And if not, you will self-destruct.
Which may happen anyway.
Yes,
I have two little brief things, and then we'll go on because I came in late and I apologize for that. But one is that the lesser of the two is that at some point, which I'm totally looking forward to myself, is that as we form this hub into all of this amazing coordination that's happening here, then we have the spokes on the wheel that feed into the hub. And I don't know how this is going to work. This is the finance part, but I feel like it's our responsibility to really look at it. It may take, I don't know how long it'll take, that there should be, when we talk about remuneration, again, I always say, if you're going to be a mentoring steward, it's an honor and a privilege, and that's why you're paying the $25. I feel like any organization, and now I have to reread probably a number of times of whatever number that was that you put me into, number 10, 11, 12, whatever it is. All these spokes that we're going to be bringing in and doing this education and doing this upgrading to the resident information that is then becoming part of the hub, again, is not only an honor and but it's also a financially beneficial for anyone that's coming in. And I feel like there should be a fee for becoming part, and that to support this hub that is just expanded beyond my wildest imagination with these 12 or 14 pieces, that I'm glad to do my piece of it. But if I'm going to go out and make contact with these other groups or individuals or whatever that are coming in, I don't want to be a salesperson, but I want to say this is something that's really going to benefit not only the whole, but right now I'm appealing to you because of your gifts and talents and who you are as a group to come into this hub and be part of the large organization. And it ain't for free. And I just feel like we might want to spend a whole lot of time. We've had some conversation about 60-40, 50-50, 40-60, all of that. And what is it? What is the benefit and the risk and all of that, and get that kind of squared away so that we're just not offering, but getting enough support where we need it. Because I can see right now this organism is expanding considerably, and we're talking about a lot of hours and a lot of stuff, and people that are bringing in their pieces are going to benefit from being part of Good of the Whole. And so that's just one piece, not today, but it's like we have a whole lot of things that we're offering, and what are we getting for what we're offering? It's kind of old school, but I just think it's there.
You had two pieces. Do you want to bring in the other one?
The other one is, right now I'm looking at us, 6 people here, and we're on screen. And since this thing started, we have been on screen, and everybody that is coming in or associated has been on screen. At some point here in the not too distant future, we're going to start doing live things, which for me, and what I saw just in the brief thing I looked for me, and I know a lot of others, live communication is going to come back into a new form. And it has nothing to do with right now, but at some point, I want to look at that personally, because I feel like that live piece, and I refer back to our time at your house, Julie, at your boathouse, and how significant that was with the energetic field going forward. It's going to happen again. And I just want to put that on the table as that's going to happen. And at some point, we're going to be live. And when we go live, I think it's going to be another one of those monumental pieces where we're going to explode in a different way. I just want to throw it on the table. We don't have to deal with it now, but I've been thinking about that because when I talk to people personally, there's a light that goes on. And I'm going to go start talking according to my job description. I have people already that I want to talk to, and I'm uncomfortable enough with some of them to talk live with them so that they really get it and bring them into the fold. No big deal right now, but I just know that that's going to happen for all of us.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Shelley, but I just want to give this brief little thing of, thanks, Sharon, of that David.
Walter's weeding.
We love
There
your
we go.
cool boy, whoever he is.
You missed before, John. You came in late. That's what
Yeah.
happens when you come on late. We got full view.
We had the whole show.
We had the whole show.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Was he viewed then? I thought he was behind the chair.
No, that was before he got behind the chair.
What's your cool boy's name anyway? Who is he?
That is my husband, Walt.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes,
good.
yep, there he comes. Yep.
Okay.
So I just want to
They
announce
got
how
a
it goes is that David sent in $100 donation check, and I'll send that thank you out to him. So just John and Shelley, so you know that David did that.
David.
We know about that.
Oh, yeah. We
Dave.
sent that in. Yeah.
Yeah, it came from your address,
Yeah.
Teresa, and your address, and yeah. So
Yeah. He brought it to the house and we sent it in.
so you okay.
So that's David Vorzimer? Is that
Yeah.
his name?
David Vorzimer.
You just
So on that note, Julie, I would like to, could you please CC us the letter you're sending back to him, because there needs to be a letter to everyone who's donated, or at least the people that are donate. We can make a decision, but that is part of the conversation today is, Ricardo that did $300, and Glenn, I don't even know what happened to your $500, but we need a template letter that goes back. It shouldn't just be coming from you. It should come from, well, obviously it does come from Support Good of the Whole, but that letter should, I have a list, and we need to, that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up, that every time someone sends in, there's two parts to this, that someone sends in a letter there, I don't know what they're getting, what that autoresponder is, but from what I've heard, I've gotten feedback that nobody knows if they've gotten it, if it's gotten to us or not. That's number one. Number two, there was a lot of upset around, not receiving any kind of thank you. So letting them know that we got it, and that, so if you can write that one to David, if that's what you want, sending it from all of us, or however we want to do it, and that becomes a template letter for, and then, in fact, Dinama and June have offered to send back letters. Obviously that wouldn't come from Support Good of the Whole, so I don't know how we want to do it, but that we start doing that for people that send in donations would be really, really important.
I'm thinking a $22 one. I'm not gonna
No, right, yeah.
have that mechanism, and that's an administrative director will respond to every single one of them. Right now with our volunteer team that's overtaxed, it'll be really difficult. When they've been $500 or more, obviously I've sent out a personal letter and copied all of you on those.
I haven't got, whoa. I haven't gotten any copy on thank you for your donation that I know of.
Just only Joyce saying, and maybe Don Pett.
Joyce, Dawn, and Joyce, Dawn.
Right, you're right. I saw Dawn's. I think I saw Dawn. But maybe just if you could just combine them, whatever you put, and just put in a Word doc and send us that Word doc, and let's, we can decide. It really should be anyone over $100, because we know that. I don't know. I think it's important. I don't know.
It would also be a thank you to anyone who comes in as a mentoring steward at $25.
Yeah, you just, and
That's
that's the template you finished,
now.
and that should happen. And Glenn's was a part of the Ohana Legacy Foundation to help start the original cost for the DBA and the attorney bill that we had. And so that one's a little different, but thank you.
Right.
Glenn, thank you, Glenn. And by the way, your other one didn't come in on membership, it came in on donation. So you and I need to talk, and you can figure that out. another time. But I was going to send David a personal written note because I don't have his email. And since he brought the check in, I thought it would be more appropriate to just write a handwritten thank you and put it in the mail, which I will. So,
Let me ask one more question, okay?
Yeah, I
So,
mean-
I put in, I threw in $200 and it was like, designated a split between Jose and Mama Shuni or whatever her name is and Uncle Raul. And how does that really get split up like that?
Yes,
yeah.
we did it. Yeah, we
Okay.
did it.
Okay.
But that's the main point. That's the main point, is that you should have gotten a letter back saying
Thank
your
you.
donation, thank you, and where your donation went. So,
Yeah.
So
That-
how would this team even know that someone made a donation?
Julie and I get it from Support at Good of the Whole. So we both see it. That's how we know.
Do you think that's something
Does
that
this
we
team
all
need
know?
to know?
That would be something the executive director or administrative director would handle, and you might get a report to this
Oh.
team once a month or however often
Right.
you
So
decide
if
to do
Andrea,
that, with a
right.
little financial statement that says, here's what came in,
Oh.
thank you letters were sent, whatever we tell the administrative director that report needs to look like.
That makes sense.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I totally saw that was part of Andrea's job if she's coming in.
Yeah.
That's-
So
That's-
Shelley, that Excel sheet that we were working on, is that no longer necessary?
No, it is. Absolutely. It's totally something completely different. It's the mentoring. That's a mentoring, an ongoing updated mentoring. So again, like Julie's talking about, that whoever's, like, if you're that person, you would send in a report, whatever, once a week, once every other week, a month, to, so that everybody's updated in this executive leadership council.
And
Yeah. So
we're
that's
talking about that-
something very different.
okay,
Yeah, that
you
structure,
guys-
once these 13 roles, if they actually have 13 people or 7 people or whatever, there'll be some sort of reporting. And that's where where that monthly meeting might happen, and people might hear from the others as to what's going on in their field of responsibility. It's like, oh, well, here's where we are with the website. Here's where we are with the funding. Here's where we are, all the different reports.
And
A
that's
little template is really helpful for that kind of thing too.
and that's a board report once a month. It's like all of you
Yeah.
would create a board report that would come in once a month, and we would all see what everybody's doing once a month.
No, and thinking about the donation, I was just looking at the mentorship tab on our website, and we still don't have the mentorship description in there. And at the bottom of that, we have a donation for a one-time instead of a join as a
Recurring.
mentor, which would give them
That's
recurring
the
donation.
description. That's the description you guys sent me. That's on that mentorship page. That's the description that was sent to me.
I don't think so. That's the one I.
And then at the bottom, there's just a clarification that if you're meaning to send a one-time donation, go to this link, because what's happened is people go on there and they'll make a $100 donation and they set it up for once a month and they're like, I didn't mean to do that. So that just helps clarify at the bottom that this is an ongoing monthly donation. So if you want to make a one-time donation, go to that link and do it on the other page. And now we have 15 minutes for Shelley. Are you cool with that, Glenn?
I am, and I'm looking at that again, and I'm thinking it's still too long. So I think we'll probably edit it again.
It's very long.
Yeah, we need to really tighten that up.
Well, there should be like a short one there, and then a link for more detailed information on mentoring stewardship, or whatever we're talking, the mentorship, mentoring stewardship.
short-
Sorry. Then and a link to the other page. It's all you need. So that one can be cut short on the donation, and then here more information. Go here.
Are you all okay with that? Because I asked this like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I said, do you want that long one on there? And you're like, yes. And I said, don't we want a short one on there? And we have the page. We have the coherence call page. So if you're okay with that, I'm going to shorten it up and link to the description of the mentoring stewards.
Yes, I'm in on that. It's fine.
Y'all okay?
Yeah, Yeah, we got way too many words going on here.
I
Mhm.
agree. Okay. Thank you. I'm complete. Shelley.
Well, I would like to, I mean, there's a number of things here. So I would like to get clarification. You know, it's one thing to be having that one more call with references, but I'd like, for the sake of all of us, to have we concluded around the workman's comp issue, which was a really big thing last week, and get Andrea on board. And when I talked to you, Julie, you said we had to have a board meeting agree. Can that all possibly happen this week so we can get going on this? So what's involved at this point with Andrea, so it doesn't keep extending week after week?
Well, I redid the job description. Let's see here.
Because remember, she's an interim
No, she's
person.
not an interim anymore.
A consultant.
Yes, to get around the workman's comp, which we do need to follow Nebraska state laws, and we do not pass we will not pass the 10-point test if we call her an administrative assistant or an interim administrator, because that is a hired employee within an organization. So what I have done is create, sorry, my phone's ringing. This document for administrative consultant, which I took very similar to the job description I gave you guys last week, and said, here's what we're looking for, or is this you? Purpose for this consultant, I'll just read this. The purpose of this 90-day administrative consultant is to lay the foundation for efficacious systems, structures, fundraising, and communications that support the continued organizational expansion and the hire of full-time administrative staff. So how we are now looking at this position, this 90-day position, is as an administrative consultant that's going to come in and create all the systems and structures that help us move into our ability to hire someone full-time. And like Sharon, you would be an amazing person to come in here and to help train her too, if there's interested of helping her think in terms of systems and structures. She probably will be okay, but this then goes into her professional requirements, same as that job description, and then the responsibilities. And so what I did to change this so it does not look like she is an administrative assistant is that here, and I should even put it in red, that she is to develop and implement organizational systems and structures too. So her primary job is to develop and implement the organizational systems and structures, then to do all these things that are the administrative role that we had in the job description. So
have you sent this to her?
no, I haven't sent that to her. Why would I send that to her without talking to you guys first? I would
No,
definitely.
I was just, I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is my response to how are we going to get away from the workman's comp issue in the state of Nebraska. And so I would call her an administrative consultant here to set up the systems and structures. And so any comments, conversation about that?
Did you send us that document?
Could I?
Yeah.
Or did I?
Well, either way, if you did, I didn't get it. So could you?
I will. I sent you the job description last week. I'll send you this updated one.
Okay.
I thought it was attached to that other email, but maybe it wasn't.
I don't,
Okay.
and so given that we all agree and we just send that to Andrea so she can just at least have another view at the update, you know, so what is it? Let's just say she looks at it and goes, okay, no problem, which she obviously will, because we've already talked. So once you've talked to for her reference, what's the next step in terms of making this happen, creating this happen?
If I'm when I get the other two references done and complete, and if they're all great, then we've done our due diligence as far as being responsible organization. And then we would, if the 5 of you are in agreement, we would take that recommendation to the board, and I'll just do a brief board report. The board, this is on my agenda for you, will meet now this 3rd Tuesday of every month at 4:30 p.m. Central. And I was going to invite you into that board meeting at 5 p.m. Central if you wanted to attend and meet each other. So what I would do is, if you want it to be before the 3rd Tuesday, which is next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, I would just call an emergency board meeting and get everybody's approval on the phone. And our meetings aren't in person anyway because of COVID. So it would be a Zoom meeting anyway.
Sharon, we can't hear you. Sharon, you're on mute, sweetie.
Is it 3rd Tuesday, next Tuesday? Is that what you just said?
Yes.
So you would have the references done this week. We would meet on Monday and Tuesday follows. So we'd be able to, that sounds like a flow.
Yeah, Shelley's like, now. So if
No,
I send
well,
that tonight,
I get your point. Yeah.
No,
So
I
you're,
mean,
it
did
could-
you, Julie, I haven't heard, just Shelley, if you don't mind, you met with her, you interviewed her. If the references check out, are you feeling really good about this person doing this?
I think she has the capacity to do the administrative tasks that we're asking her. I don't know about the consultant. I mean, Sharon, you would be a better 90-day consultant to set up all these systems and structures than she, from what I know of you and what I know of her. But she has the capacity to do the administrative. She can multitask. She makes decisions by doing homework, and like literally she's not going to make an impulsive decision. She's going to go look and find answers and then make a decision. So she makes informed decisions. I think she can multitask. I think she has a heart for it, of changing the world and being a part of something really big, and finding her way in there. So I think she has all the capacity to begin doing those functions, and adding that element of being the consultant that sets it up. I think it's just a shift for her to go, okay, I'm here to set up the systems and structures. And I think she'll be fine. But I think she'll need, obviously, all of our support in that, and different ways of looking at how do you create an old organizational model that's evolving into the new as it's evolving. And so we just have to all co-create that together, I think. So
And was it also established, is this a 40-hour week, 20-hour week? What was the,
20
and
hours.
is there a salary attached? Like
She will
20.
be an independent contractor, 20 hours a week, and getting $20 an hour. So she will make $1,600 for 3 months whenever she starts. So she'll have 90 days making $1,600 a month.
Okay. That makes sense to me, because in 3 months you're going to know if she's like flowing really beautifully with this and really contributing, or you're feeling like she's not for whatever reason. And I think everybody's probably very willing to have orientation meetings with her and help her out in whatever way we can. I would be.
and she would be on this call with us, I would imagine, no? Just, I mean, in the beginning, just to kind of get a feeling for the things we're talking about and who we are, and that's what I would imagine, but I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah, we just have to remember that that's 2 hours out of her 20 for the week. So I guess we'll have to tune into that and see if that's how it works, or have her come in once a month or something.
Or we can just ask her, as a part of this, we'd like you to come in for a couple of weeks, just not on your time zone, but just come in to get a feeling for what we're doing. I mean, I'm sure she would do that. I don't think she would even blink an eye.
Well, and also she doesn't have to be on for the full 2 hours. If we
Yeah, right. Absolutely not. Yeah.
her, we get done in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the other piece is, just for my information, I can figure this out later, but is Good of the Whole going to pay her weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? How's that going to work? And do I just write a check to Good of the Whole and then that it comes directly out of that?
You would write your check to Good of the Whole, and we could figure out what makes most sense. I think bi-weekly or monthly would be easier than to write a check once a month and get it to her, or do an electronic transfer of funds. So I don't know. I guess we could do that. Maybe bi-weekly.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to
Here,
drop
come-
off. 'Cause my person has arrived. So
Thank you.
hopefully that was helpful.
Wrong on.
Thank you,
Love you
Sharon.
all.
You were
Sharon,
totally
aloha.
amazing. We love you.
Thanks,
We love you.
Sharon.
We love you. Thank
Say
you.
hi to the pool boy
Hi.
for me.
I will.
Yeah, how's the pool boy?
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. What were you saying, John?
But I just have one more thing to say about that. It's kind of been on my mind. I listen very carefully sometimes. Not that it makes any difference, but I did hear when Linda offered for the second month. I heard Linda say that she would be willing to help out on the second month. I didn't really hear that she was going to take care of the whole thing. And it's been on my mind. I just want to put that out. That's what I heard. So I just want to clarify where I came from on that.
Well, now I'm on the spot. So it's a good question. Is this a loan to help this get started? And I guess, John, were you under the understanding that you would be paid back eventually? Or, because I really don't know how this would work either. And then is it, we paying per week? And is there a separate, do we write a check to Good of the Whole and mail it to you, Julie, or transfer it? I guess I need more clarity.
Those are all questions of mine as well.
Right.
Except,
And, and I'm not, I think when I said help out, I wasn't planning on 1,600. I thought maybe half of that, but I can, I think to get this going, I'm willing to do it if I can maybe break it down to 800 and 800 or 4 and 4 and 4 and 4. Is that right? Yeah, that would be easier. It's just the logistics, when and how, and when is that transferred, and when does it start? And then after the 60 days is over, then what?
Shelley
Okay.
brought this up last week. Go ahead, Jill.
Shelley, what?
You brought this up last week and asked what their expectations were.
I
Were they
did.
wanting it to be a loan or to get paid back, or is it a gift? And we had the conversation. So thank you, John, for clarifying, Linda, but go ahead, Shell.
Well, okay, from last week, and what I heard is, this is what I heard. And what I feel to add in a piece that I think is important is John jumped in and said, I will do this. He's not expecting, this is how I heard it, and how I've heard it is John said, I'm not expecting anything back. Of course, if there was plenty of money and something could come back, that's great, but there wasn't any expectations of the return. With you, Linda, you said I'm in. I'll take the second month. And so in my hearing, it was like, I'm in, I'm going to give the 1,600. However it is, the 1,600 is covered for that second month. With that being said, I want to say something into the whole, because when I talked to Julie, there is money coming in, and there is more coming in every other day from new mentoring stewards, and anyway, there's even a few more mentoring stewards, people that want to be, which I've got to talk to. So that there is, the truth is there is some money. Julie has to speak to what is there and what isn't there, because I'm not in control at this point. As far as I knew a week ago or 10 days ago, there was $800 coming in a month. And obviously there are other expenses. So, I'm just saying what I heard, what I understood. If there's some more thoughts about it, that's one thing, and that's okay, that I think we can all embrace. But I also feel that, you know, if Good of the Whole has, you know, $400 to put toward that 600 without putting us in a deficit of not paying other expenses, yeah, I think that should be taken into account. We don't have to take like all of that. So I don't know what Julie wants to say to that, but because, you know, we have talked about, I mean, from a conversation I had with Julie in the very beginning, and again, part of this is, you said who said what, but you know that there was some money towards that. So I don't know where it goes or how you want to leave it, but the way I felt was, you both said I'm in, and if you now want to feel like it's a loan, unless we can't, that's up to you. Or it could be a loan, you know, that I'm putting this in with good intentions. If there's a way to pay me back, or, you know, give it 6 months, take another look at it. I don't know. So, but I understand. Yeah. So that's what I heard.
So as far as the bank account goes, we have the funds that we've set aside for the fundraising, whether that be a consultant or somebody else. So there's $6,500, and that's set aside, and we are bringing in about $835 a month. And so as those funds come in, and in fact, I have to go make a transfer again. And so as those funds come in, it's not like I guess what I'm trying to say is, if we don't have someone for the third month, that $800 a month probably isn't going to cover the $1,600 in 3 months with our expenses coming out. And I can give you an itemized list of the expenses. You've seen it before, but so I wouldn't want to designate that we would help in the first month, the second month, and then we don't have any funds to pay her in the third month. So it felt comfortable to say we have the first month, second month covered. And in my mind, I went, it will be me that will cover the third month, because the expenses are all coming out of a lot of on my credit card and in my bank account. And so it would be me that wouldn't get, like, literally, I haven't got paid back for 2020 of those funds that we need to set up and get them back. But that 800 and that 800 from this month and next month could go for that third month. So that's what I'm saying is, if we fell short, at least there would be some funds there that came in. Now, Glenn's 500 just came in, and this 100 came in, and I already paid the attorney bill, and I've already paid the DBA. So the only thing left out of Glenn's to do is to do, oh, I haven't got the mail yet today. I should have done that before the meeting, is to post it in the local newspaper, which won't be a lot of money. But that's the only expense left on the DBA that I'm aware of. Now, we will have an accountant's bill, because the taxes are due right now. They're working on them. And so the accountant has the account. So how much will that be? I should have asked him what his estimate would be, and I didn't do that. So I don't know what the tax bill will be.
When you have the accountant, is the accountant like accounting separately for Good of the Whole, and Julie Krull personal and everything is separate?
But yeah, this is an accountant for Good of the Whole's income tax. Totally separate.
Oh, okay, just curious.
It's Good of the Whole income tax as a nonprofit.
So I don't understand what you said about, well, I'm paying the expenses out of my personal account, and, you know, like, it should be all coming out of Good of the Whole's account, right? Is that correct?
Good of the Whole doesn't have a credit card. So like with Constant Contact, there are 2 bills that we pay that will not take it out of PayPal, that it has to be. Oh, another one is QuickBooks. I'm ready to go with QuickBooks, and they won't take it out of PayPal. So we either need to get a credit card for Good of the Whole, which we would, or be on my credit card, and then Good of the Whole would have to pay me back. So those are the kinds of expenses that are just our Constant Contact, our Nation Builder, or Nation Builder comes out of PayPal. The PayPal pay flow is $40 a month that comes out of our PayPal. So there are things that come out of PayPal, and I don't have a credit card.
Okay, so can it be a debit card? Does it have to be a credit card? Because like in mine, I have Loving Waters in connected to like my account, but I have a separate debit card for that account. So
Yeah,
why
I
isn't
can
that?
ask for the nonprofit if we get a debit credit card, they could set that up. Then those companies can take a debit card. But some of those companies only want a credit card, so it has to be set up as a credit debit card, which I
Okay.
just have to go get it set up in the bank. That's all.
Okay, so is that okay to do this week so that gets so that it doesn't get enmeshed? Then it's better for you. I would imagine.
Absolutely, it would be better for me if everything came out of that account. Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
And I would throw in that part of the reason we're getting Andrea on board is to, and I would think that by into the second month, is to help us with our cash flow, to work with things that are going to generate more mentoring stewards, more response, and then our cash flow is going to increase by 50% or 100% with their help. And so that's going to, that'll help.
I don't even think it has to be the end of the second month. I mean, I think she's aware of. I mean, she's excited about it to be part of doing it, and also, Ken, my next question is the donations, because that's been. There are two things about the donations. One is that it's about 85% functioning because of if someone doesn't put in a note to say where they want their money to go, then that's becomes an issue. It hasn't been so hard to figure it out. It's pretty easy at this point, but that's in question. And can Andrea, let's just say she comes on next Tuesday, can we hand her the donations, dealing with the donations as part of her role? Because I think that's something that you don't want to do, Julie, and have talked about. And anyway, I'm just putting that into the possibility, or I mean, I don't necessarily want to do it, but I would, because I want to make sure that those donations are done and they're clear and they're clean. And
Yeah, I think she can do the form and structure part and just give me a report. Julie, you need to send this to that to this. I don't know if we want her in the PayPal or in the bank account at this point for 3 months until she's really an employee.
Well, I do, because you've been not happy with doing the donations and the breakouts, and so that's something I think we definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we're sorting it all out and trying to figure out who's, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of big tests.
I think she could do it really easy, but anyway, we can talk about that. So, all right, so
it's after 5. It's 5:07, and I should have told you at the beginning of the hour I needed to leave at 5.
Okay.
Is there anything else that's
Wow,
important?
what a breath. What a
Really.
breath.
I'm looking forward to going over the document that you sent us with all of the things, and just see if anything duplicates, or just to have fun with it. So thank you for sending that.
And thank you for all the work to put it together.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant.
I just appreciate being given the opportunity to feel the labor pains of giving birth. Thank you.
Yeah, times 1,000.
Yeah, times 1,000.
So Shelley, we didn't get to your agenda. Do you guys want to continue without me?
I'm going to get off too.
No.
I don't know. Shelley, is there a key thing we can help you with really quick? That's like,
I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to go ahead with Jose's course, and at
Go for it.
60/40, and try and figure out, maybe have a conversation with Julie, because we've agreed to the 60/40 as a beta test, and he's ready to go, and whatever that means is simple, in the simplest way we can do it. And I don't know all the answers yet, because I haven't sat down with it. And
It sounds like he wants a small group too. He doesn't want a large group. So
Well, we don't have a large group, but you never know with him what happens. I don't, we won't know until it happens. But I mean, look, the larger the better. We have money for Andrea. Hello. And we
No,
also did,
he told me he didn't want it big. It would be a small select group of people. That's what he said to me.
it's okay. That's not how I understand it. It's whoever wants to come, and we have to figure out how to do the money.
How do we get a description of this course and when it's going to be?
I'm working on it.
Okay. Okay.
I'd be happy to
Because
send it.
you have your language. I mean, you know what's going on, and then I don't know what's going on. So that's why I'm asking. It's like, am I supposed to know what?
You
is
will.
everyone
It'll
supposed
come
to
up. It'll come up in the Connection Field team meeting. How about that this Friday?
Okay. Sounds good.
As far as I know, and we didn't conclude with how John or you felt about the response that I gave back to you in terms of what I saw, and I think it's really, really important that there's a clear understanding of how you feel, and if you want it to be alone, because it's okay if you're changing. How do you want to be with that? Because I don't care if you feel like it's alone. That's fine, because I think with
I don't know what you're talking about.
the $1,600, we never finished the end of the discussion about that.
Oh, well, I already said I'll put in the $1,600, and then, down the line, if I guess that's where it comes in on being flexible around 60-40, 50-50, 40-60, or whatever. If I come up and am actually a spoke coming into the hub with a program that I develop and bring it in, I would want to be able to set what I think the percentage would be in order to compensate me in some way for putting $1,600 in.
Okay, well, that's different. So Julie and I can talk about it. That's fine. But that's written up really differently.
Well, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
don't need any compensation, but I do have to it's raining all over my things. I got to go.
Oh my God. Wow.
Okay.
At least
Yeah.
it's not hailing.
John said, I wanted to give this as a gift, and I know with reciprocity, I'll be remunerated in abundance
Right.
of programs and other things that I'll be doing for good of the whole. And that's how he left it. So his wasn't alone.
Right. We know that.
We didn't need to write that up. So
All right. So I can just, to keep it simple, do the same thing. And in trusting that what's supposed to happen, it will happen, as far as maybe I'll take some courses and I won't be paying for them. I don't know how.
That's, no executive leadership council person has to pay. Let's be really clear about that.
perhaps when we do the DBA, you don't have to feel like you need to cover some of those expenses down the road for pajamas. Like those kinds of things will probably happen. But if you do want it to be a contract and paid back, then we need to just specify that.
Oh. No.
Okay, so let's talk about, nothing's happening until next Tuesday anyway, so we'll have a call on Monday and we'll just, that sounds really good.
Okay. And I'm sure the money will be there.
Me too, I'm not.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I'll
What did
hear.
you both say?
I'm sure the money will be here.
Oh, okay.
And Julie, I'm in the middle of the recording. Shelley sent it to me. I was trying to find that women's group that you had on Zoom and on Facebook for Codes for a Healthy Earth. And I still would love to do something. I just don't know who to talk to or what it is that I can do.
So why don't you think about what you would like to do? Because we've already talked about, you can totally do that inside the Connection Field, unless it's a course where we're stepping in. We're at the edge right here, with Jose, that we can start beginning to look at, and maybe this is the next week piece of like John and I were talking about doing 4 weeks for the resident leadership. That would be a paying course or something. So do you want it to be an offering and you want to just gather people? Because we also talked about the Pachamama pajamas, which you were very excited about.
Yes.
To just get a group and just begin to get, so that's not a money paying, you can just talk to me and we'll put it into the Connection Field.
Okay.
If you want to do the codes for Healthy Earth, just as a get people excited and get people in and begin to, do it for a month and then, do something else with it. That is, if it's not a physically paying piece and
Mhm.
it's just offered as free, there's nothing to do. All you got to do is talk to me and we'll put it in the way we've been doing everything else.
Okay,
So,
and I wanted to check with Julie because the last time I brought that up, it was like, well, I think we're going to do something, but I don't know what that meant.
Oh, I don't know.
So let's talk later.
Okay,
And I'll clarify with Shelley where she's at, and I will, I think I talked to her on Thursday or sooner, so I'll clarify that.
that's just because my heart is there and I want more people to start talking about it. But as
Mhm.
far as where my time and energy is going to go, it's Pachamama pajamas.
Awesome.
So,
That sounds like a special project we need to talk about.
and Glenn, you're the guy. Should you choose to accept your mission or self-employed?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go clean out my mother's house.
Oh,
Ooh.
Julie.
Oh,
Sorry.
blessings.
Thank you.
Well,
I'm loading the trailer right now.
Okay, well, there's a lot going on for this evening in the connection field, so I think maybe someone could just close us and take a breath together and leave.
John, you came late. Do you want to close us?
Okay, sure. Oh, let's see. Why don't we start with a nice deep breath? And on the exhale, just let go of the tension of this birth for a moment. And just know that we're in this together. We chose this. We chose the brilliance and the beauty and the willingness to stay together through the struggle in order to co-create something that is a hub, a foundation for a lot of possibility for a lot of people, a lot of energy coming through that is a job somebody's got to do, and we've signed up for it and feel very grateful for that. And know that no one will be left out of the circle and that we're doing the best we can in the mystery, in the unknown. We're playing it by ear in this new frequency, in this new evolutionary process. And we don't have an exact template for this yet. But we can together come up with that template and allow it to shift and change as it needs to. And we all have to shift and change as we need to be part of it. And that is the love that we hold with and for each other. So be it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Goodbye.
we're with you, Julie. Droplets of clarity and clearing and yeah,
Well,
peace.